Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nick. I'm a cybersecurity engineer based out of Orlando, Florida, and I have this channel where I talk about cybersecurity, cloud security, getting started in your career in cybersecurity and IT in general. Talk about certifications, and in this video, we're actually going to be talking about how to get started, kickstarting your cybersecurity career in 2021. Let's get into it. So one of the questions I often get all the time is, hey Nick, you work in cybersecurity, how do I get started in cyber too? Now, I like this question a lot because I too had that same question when I was first getting started. If you've been following me, you probably know this by now. If we're just now meeting, obviously you don't. I used to work in IT just as a general systems engineer. I used to do help desk, network administration tasks, and network security. And then I jumped into general systems engineering, which is how I got into the cloud and into cybersecurity. Up until then, I didn't quite understand at what point I was able to say, I am a cybersecurity engineer. I am fully vetted to become a cybersecurity engineer. I even got a job offer as an application security engineer, and I did not quite get I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't grasp, the full confidence or just that comfort of knowing, yes, I'm in the right place. I didn't quite feel like I was in the right place because it felt like there was such a vast scope of security, things that I needed to know that I didn't know. And it took time for me to identify which services I needed to focus on in order to do my task. And then eventually I started to realize that there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of people, a lot of voices out there, especially on the internet, that are telling you, you need to know reverse malware engineering. You need to know, security networking. You need to know cloud security. You need to know data governance. Just so many different avenues, so many different niches, as I like to call them. That's when I began to realize that you specialize. Like, people tend to gravitate, they polarize towards a particular area, subspecialty within cybersecurity, and then they become the expert. And you can stay a little bit more general. I don't advise that to most people because usually you can make more money. Your job's a little bit easier. You can focus on just one thing and get really, really good at it. And if you ever decide you want to go learn something else, that one specialty that you learned really well, and then you can learn another specialty, and usually you can benefit by having knowledge in both areas, but focusing on one is definitely beneficial. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a 4-step approach that I use personally to get into cybersecurity, come up with a plan, finding, a subspecialty that you want to focus on, and ideally becoming successful and obtaining that dream job. And like I said, if you want to do more than one thing, maybe you're having difficulty identifying what specialty you want to go after, this approach should help you try to narrow it down to 1, 2, or 3 options, and then you can kind of explore those options further and figure out which one you ideally want to go for the next couple of years. And you can always jump to another one later. By the way, if you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button because it helps the YouTube algorithm share this video to other people just like you, other people interested in cybersecurity, wanting to get into the field, and trying to figure out how to navigate through all the noise and find helpful resources to kickstart their cybersecurity career, which is what we're talking about today. So if you can like this video, I really, really appreciate it. Also, be sure to subscribe and maybe leave a comment down below. And if you want, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I'll be posting all that stuff in the description, so be sure to check me out. All right, let's get into the 4-step approach. Okay, so the first step that I have for you in this 4-step approach on how to navigate your career is to explore your options. Like I said earlier in this video, there's so many different niches or subspecialties within cybersecurity that it's kind of difficult for one to figure out, hey, what am I going to do? What do I want to focus on? Maybe you come from a technical background. Maybe you're a very analytical person, very left brain type person, and you like the challenge of tinkering with things. There's a lot of great areas for that. But if you're not one of those types of people. Maybe you're more creative, you're more bubbly, you're more social, you like organization, you like rules. There's that other side to it as well, where it falls under the law and governance and compliance and management. There's a lot of areas that are not necessarily coding and servers and dealing with very technical engineering type tasks that still allow you to claim some of the benefits of job security and compensation within the cybersecurity job market. And that's what I want to highlight. I'm actually putting together a publication. It's really just a blog article on my website. It's going to be at nicholasmoy.com/blog/cybersecurity specialties. And there you're going to find a list of a ton of different resources, hot jobs that are in the market. Usually I'm trying to prioritize them based off of what I'm hearing. For those of you who don't know, my personal day job, I work as a manager and I do a lot of hiring. And so I hear a lot about the high demands, especially when I was in the Big Four, just hearing about the demands on a consistent basis of what they're looking for as far as cybersecurity expertise. And, a lot of that's in the cloud. A lot of that is application security. There's, industrial control system security, IoT. I mean, it's not totally surprising, a lot of the things that I'm bringing up, but it's nice to have a congregated list in one location where you can go and reference and get a good idea of what the average salary is for somebody that does that type of job in the United States, and some helpful resources on the internet where you can go and learn more about some of those things. The first step that I would advise to you is to explore your options. Figure out, what do you enjoy? What do you do in your pastime, the things that you do in your free time to have fun? Are you the type of person that likes to build, some kind of service in a Raspberry Pi? Do you like scripting or coding? Or do you like, reading? Do you like educating yourself on political agendas and policies and things like that, things that are going on in the world, and maybe how cyber might be able to impact those things at a more, societal, economical level? Those are different questions that I think you need to ask yourself, and then begin exploring the different career paths that are out there for you within cybersecurity. If you're a more technical person, you might enjoy application security, especially if you come from a development background. If you come from a systems background like I do, you might enjoy cloud security. Cloud is, definitely going to be the future for a lot of our virtualized, networking and virtualized systems, and that just seems to be the place that we're heading as just an industry as a whole. So being able to secure those environments, the networks and the virtualized systems, is a really good skill set to have, and it's definitely in the top 10 rankings for job demands, for security demands right now in 2021. So some really good things. Like I said, check out that article. I think it'll help you navigate and try to find some things that you might be able to pull from and be able to explore further. I'll be putting a link to that article in the description below. And also, right here, you guys can just click this link right here and it'll take you straight there. All right, so step 2 that I have for you is to make a plan. After you've identified maybe 2 or 3 different options that you seem really, really interested in, go ahead and make a plan on how you can learn more about them. Now, this is going to be more of that, you're getting your hands dirty here. You want to really dig into the weeds on, whatever it is. If you're going down a more technical path like I did, it's a really good idea for you to maybe open up an AWS account and begin tinkering with, EC2 instances and finding vulnerabilities and finding ways to secure these services in this platform. These are the types of things that you're going to be doing as a cloud security engineer in the real world. So having that experience and being able to do this at home in your own lab environment, it's a really good idea. It'll help you get a good understanding, you'd be able to determine really if this is for you. And, that goes the same for anything technical. Go for, if you're doing application security, if you're a developer, go ahead and play around with some vulnerable applications, run it through some open source scanners, like some SAS scanners, some DAS scanners. You got, OWASP dependency check, OWASP zap. There's a ton of open source tools out there that are available to you that you can leverage to begin learning and figuring out if this is something that you want to do. On the flip side, if you're not a technical person and you're more of the more rules by the book, maybe more policy driven, if that interests you, you can learn about FedRAMP, GDPR, HIPAA, these policies and procedures. You can learn how to assess a system, maybe have a server at home and use the RMF framework, the NIST 853 framework to assess a server that you might have or a computer that you might have for security controls. And that way you can classify it, you can begin understanding what it's like to be an ISO, information system security officer, or somebody that does these, procedural assessments, these security assessments on these systems that are trying to be protected, especially within federal environments, government environments. Those are very, very important. So those are some things that I would advise. And again, depending on which side you fall on, you should be able to find some pretty helpful resources in that link that I am sharing in the description of this video. Another thing that I want to mention as far as making a plan, aside from just, labbing, is finding certifications, finding courses, finding mentors. These are all very, very important. And I say that because when you are just getting started, yes, you want to have experience. That is without a doubt very, very important. Everyone's going to want you to have experience so you know what you're talking about. So you can actually speak to a moment in your past where you had to troubleshoot, you had to problem solve something. And usually that helps convey confidence in the person who's interviewing you that you actually know what you're talking about. But in addition to that, having credentials and certifications under your belt really speaks to the confidence of your knowledge. Yes, there's a debate always that, passing an exam is not everything. Anyone can pass an exam. I understand that. That is true. Technically, everyone could pass an exam. However, there's two things that happen when you pass an exam. If you get a certification because you worked hard, you did the studying, you passed the exam, you now have the confidence of the knowledge that you've obtained, and that confidence will convey and how you communicate when you're interviewing and when you're in the job, because you've obtained the credentials. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and you're able to speak with confidence that you were able to go through the ringer, pass the exam, obtain the credentials, and you have that experience to back it up because you've done the labbing, maybe you've done an internship, something like that, to really boost your ability to perform, your confidence that you're able to perform in the workplace. These are all very, very important things that I had to do personally, and a lot of people that I speak with that are also professionals in cybersecurity, they do this as well. Now, one thing I mentioned in addition to this is finding mentors. Listen, I'm considered a professional. I've been doing this for a long time, over a decade now, and still to this day, I don't know everything. I'm still asked questions that I don't understand, and sometimes I don't know how to approach initially, and that's okay. I think that a lot of people deal with that same situation where we're all just learning. We're all learning. And the beautiful thing about this whole career, this whole industry, is that cybersecurity is constantly changing. The landscape is always changing. So if you're one of those people who likes, to constantly be challenged, to read up and test and certify and, always try to compete, if you're a very competitive person like I am, this is a great industry to be in. Okay, now step 3 that I have for you is to show up every day. Listen, it's not easy to go through this. It took me a few years. First of all, I've been in IT for a long time. Like I said, I've been doing this for over a decade now. But when I was studying for my cybersecurity career, when I was going through my bachelor's degree, when I was pursuing certifications, for about 2 solid years, I was showing up every single day, trying to put in at least an hour, despite what was going on. Now, just for those of you who don't know, I have a family. I'm a family man. I got 3 kids. I'm married. And with that situation, with what's going on at my house, they're young. I have young kids. One can be sick. And then all of them are sick in a week or two, and next thing you know, I'm sick, and I might be in the middle of trying to study for a certification, or I might have been preparing for, an exam for my degree program, and I still had to show up and study. Otherwise, I always had this fear, like I'm going to lose the information that I've been preparing and I've been studying and digesting up until now. And if I give up because I'm sick, then I'm going to forget everything. And I think that fear was kind of a good and a bad thing, but it definitely did help me get through the ringer and get certified. And because of that, and because of the degree program I was in, I was able to fortunately get a lot of certifications under my belt, which helped me gain a lot of confidence as I was making the shift from systems engineer over to cybersecurity engineer. So what I would have to say for you, whatever you're trying to pursue, you've already identified your 2 or 3 different career paths. You're making a plan on what you're going to do, and have that plan written out. The next thing is to show up every day and begin attacking the first item on your list. So if it's like, you made a plan, let's say you're coming from help desk and you're going into cybersecurity engineer. Let's say you want to be a security analyst. You want to work in a security operations center. That's a really good plan. Let's say that your plan looks like this. You're working in help desk. Maybe you don't have any cybersecurity certifications, but you've been doing this for some time now. A great plan would look like, step 1, I want to get my security plus, or I want to get my SSCP. And I'm going to give myself 2 months to do it. Now, that's phase 1 of your plan. Phase 2 of your plan might be, okay, now I'm going to obtain a Splunk certification. That's a really good plan. So now that you have your baseline cybersecurity cert, now you're going after a Splunk certification, which is what security analysts use in SOCs, or a lot of the larger organizations, they use Splunk. That's a really good plan. If you're coming from help desk and you're trying to become a security analyst, you get your baseline certification. Maybe you get that Splunk certification, obtain some skills, maybe build up a little sandbox environment where you can play in Splunk, or maybe get online, join a program like Cybrary where you can build a Splunk, lab environment and ecosystem and get really familiar with that. And then go and find an internship or find a way where you can shadow and start applying to jobs, at that point. And so they'll say that's a 5-step plan. Well, with this, step 3, showing up every day, you need to make sure you're being consistent and make sure that you are tackling this massive plan with bite-sized chunks. How do you eat an elephant? It's one piece at a time, right? So we're going to go ahead and tackle step 1, which is getting that baseline certification. And then we're going to move on to the next phase, which is maybe either getting another certification or getting more experience or beginning to apply for jobs. So tackle it and show up every single day. Don't let yourself go one day without doing something, even if it's just for 30 minutes. If it's reading a book or reviewing the notes that you have, just do it for 30 minutes. That way, you're keeping it in your memory. The things that you're doing, things that you've been studying or the things that you've done, you still have it present in your memory. It could be a complete dumpster fire of a day. Maybe it's just the worst day ever. If you have 30 minutes, which you do, you have 30 minutes, you can dedicate 30 minutes before you go to bed or when you first wake up to review what you've been doing so you stay up to date, and just keep showing up every day. I promise you do that, you will become successful. It works for me. It's worked for everybody else that I've spoken to, that I've coached, that I've mentored. So I know it's going to work for you too. So show up every single day. Okay. And step 4 that I have for you is going to be give back. Now, this isn't really about you. It's not really about your plan, but I find that it's very important because there's something magical that happens when you end up giving back to the community. Whenever you learn something and you go out there and you teach it, it really helps you commit what you just learned to memory. And this is scientific. You can go on the internet and find this, that there's people that actually confirm this. Because what happens is you're bringing in that information, but then when you have to re-articulate it to somebody else, you have to really understand, you have to process what you just learned and be able to relate it personally to memories or experiences or things that you can, tangibly attach this idea, these concepts to, in order for you to form this construct. So it is partially maybe a little bit selfish, but at the same time, it's totally not, because you're benefiting other people who might have been in a situation that you were in and are trying to excel in their careers as well. Maybe they want to be a compliance specialist, and that's the path that you're taking. Sharing what you're working on and how you're becoming successful with it, how you've been able to accomplish certain milestones or achieve certifications, is going to be really encouraging to other people. But it's also going to look really good for you, because other people are going to begin to see you as a thought leader, maybe somebody who is very confident, a subject matter expert, if you will. And it also helps you build that confidence as a person who knows what they're talking about, which will prove in the workplace, that'll prove itself in interviews and everywhere else. So a couple ways that you can give back are conferences, writing blog posts, maybe teaching courses on other platforms like Udemy or other corporations. Find a way to share your knowledge. Get on social media, write a tweet, post something on Instagram, maybe post a picture of the lab environment that you're working on, or make a YouTube video like I am, and just get up here and talk about what you're doing. I guarantee you that if you do that, it's going to be so much more beneficial for you as a person, and it's going to make you feel good, and it's going to really help you understand and grasp the things that you're learning and that you're wanting to pursue for your career. All right, everybody, that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you were able to watch it all the way to the end, I love you. Thank you so much for doing that. I really hope that you found some valuable nuggets in this video. Like I said, everything that I've talked about, the 4-step approach here, really did work for me as I was getting started in my cybersecurity career. Now, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out, maybe you're brand new to IT, or you've been doing IT for a while and you're just trying to get into cybersecurity because you've heard of all the benefits and all the job openings and all that. That's great. Regardless of where you're coming from, I'm rooting for you. I know that you can do this. I believe in you. And I know that if you follow this approach, you're going to have some really massive success. And if you continue to do this, that's a really cool thing about this. If you continue to apply this 4-step approach, regardless of where you sit in your career, you're going to always be successful. I still do this to this day, and I've had immense opportunities to not only increase my income at my day job, but to do a lot of side work. I've been able to act as a subject matter expert for the AWS certifications and actually help write the exams. So just doing a lot of these things really, really helps, and it kind of compounds itself. It's like investing in stocks or something like that, right? You invest your money into it and you start seeing residual returns as it compounds over time. So it's the same thing that happens. The more you work in this, the more people you meet, the more you're able to show your work, and you kind of build this online portfolio on social media that says, hey, look at me, I'm dedicated to this. I love what I'm doing. I want to help. And people just naturally love that, and they gravitate to people like that. So if that's you, you're going to have some massive fortune over time by just continuing to do this. I love you guys. I hope you all stay safe during this time, and be sure to subscribe. That way you guys can follow me as I continue to produce more and more videos and more content over time. All right, take care now. I'll see ya.